"You're not the bride I wanted." The words landed less than an hour after the wedding ceremony. Not whispered, not softened by guilt. Simply stated across a candlelit bedroom while rain struck the manor windows outside. Lady Rosalie Viermont stood perfectly still beside the fireplace, still wearing the silver wedding gown chosen by people who cared more about appearances than happiness. Across the room, Duke Adrien Viermont removed his gloves with mechanical precision, avoiding her eyes entirely. "You should sit," he said. Rosalie almost laughed at that, not because it was funny, because it sounded absurdly polite after what he had just said. "I'm managing surprisingly well standing." A flicker of irritation crossed his face. Good. At least one of them still possessed visible emotion. The silence stretched heavily between them. Around them, Blackmere Manor remained painfully grand. Marble fireplace, gold-framed portraits, velvet curtains, everything expensive enough to feel cold. Rosalie understood immediately. This was not a marriage. It was a transaction dressed as one. She had known that before arriving, but hearing it aloud still hurt. "You may as well explain fully," she said quietly. Adrien loosened his collar slightly. This arrangement was negotiated quickly. "Yes, I attended the wedding." Another brief irritation. Interesting. Apparently, the Duke disliked sarcasm from wives he already regretted. "My mother pushed aggressively for this marriage before her death." Rosalie's eyes shifted instinctively toward the sapphire necklace resting against her throat. His mother's necklace. An heirloom centuries old. Lady Viermont herself placed it around Rosalie's neck 2 weeks before dying from illness. "You'll protect my son from himself," the old Duchess whispered then. At the time, Rosalie assumed grief caused the strange statement. Now, perhaps not. "You didn't object strongly enough," Rosalie said. Adrien finally looked at her directly. And there it was. The truth beneath everything. Regret. Not hatred. Not cruelty. Simply disappointment sharpened into coldness. "No," he admitted quietly. "I didn't." Rain thundered harder against the windows. Rosalie moved slowly toward the dressing table, removing earrings one at a time with steady hands. She would not cry in front of him. Not tonight. Perhaps not ever. "What exactly did you expect instead?" she asked. Adrien hesitated. A dangerous hesitation. Because now they approached honesty. Someone politically useful. Oh, there it was. Rosalie almost smiled. Not from amusement. Recognition. Her father was a minor lord drowning in debt. Her beauty and education outweighed her family influence considerably. She had always understood her marriage prospects depended more on grace than power. Still, hearing herself summarized as insufficient on her wedding night stung deeply. "And instead you received me." "Yes." The simplicity of the answer cut cleaner than cruelty. Rosalie unclasped the sapphire necklace slowly. The jewels caught firelight in deep blue flashes. "Your mother seemed pleased by the arrangement." Something complicated crossed Adrien's expression then. "Pain. She believed character mattered more than alliances." "And you disagree." "I believe survival matters." The answer told Rosalie everything she needed to know about the man she married. This was not arrogance. Not entirely. This was a man shaped by pressure until love itself looked impractical. Unfortunately for him, Rosalie had survived pressure too. 5 years earlier, after her father's financial collapse began quietly poisoning the family reputation, Rosalie learned how quickly society transformed fear into cruelty. Invitations disappeared first, then engagement offers, then kindness. By 23, she became that unfortunate Ashcombe girl whispered about during balls. Too proud to beg, too poor to matter, too beautiful for comfortable sympathy. She survived by becoming observant. And observant women recognized lonely men immediately. Adrien Viermont might command shipping companies and parliamentary negotiations with terrifying confidence. But loneliness sat in his shoulders like permanent armor. "You look exhausted," Rosalie said suddenly. The comment clearly surprised him. "I'm fine." "No." She removed the necklace completely. "You're miserable." His jaw tightened slightly. "Careful." Again with that word. As though honesty itself required warning labels. Rosalie crossed the room calmly, then placed the sapphire necklace gently atop the bed between them. Adrien looked down immediately. "What are you doing?" "It belongs to your family. It belongs to the Duchess." "And clearly," she said softly, "I'm not truly wanted in that role." For the first time all evening, something uncertain entered his expression. Not regret exactly, but discomfort. because suddenly the consequences of his coldness existed physically between them. The necklace, the bride, the silence. I didn't say that. No, Rosalie agreed. You simply made certain I understood it. That landed. Good. He deserved at least that much discomfort. Adrian exhaled slowly. This conversation has gone badly. You open with disappointment. I open with honesty. Rosalie looked at him carefully then, because that answer mattered. And unexpectedly, she realized he believed it. He genuinely thought blunt cruelty on a wedding night counted as integrity. How tragic. You know what the strange thing is? She asked quietly. What? I think you're probably a decent man. That visibly startled him. After tonight? Yes. A pause. Which means whatever happened to you before me must have been catastrophic. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Personal. And suddenly Adrian looked less offended than exposed. Rosalie regretted the observation instantly because it felt too accurate. The Duke turned away toward the window. Get some rest. Dismissal. Retreat. Cowardice wrapped neatly in exhaustion. Rosalie stared at his back for several long seconds, then finally nodded once. All right. At dawn, Adrian woke alone. Cold gray light filtered through enormous windows while rain softened outside. For one disoriented moment, he forgot the wedding entirely. Then he noticed the empty side of the bed untouched beside him, and the necklace, resting carefully on his pillow. Beneath it, a folded note. Adrian, you were right. I am not the bride you wanted. But I refuse to become the woman who spends years begging to be tolerated. Your mother deserved honesty before choosing me for this family. So did I? The necklace belongs to someone your heart can welcome properly. I hope one day you become the man she believed you already were. Rosalie. Silence swallowed the room. Absolute. Then Adrian noticed something else. The wardrobe door stood open, half empty, the carriage tracks outside the manor already disappearing beneath morning rain. And suddenly, the Duke realized his unwanted bride had vanished before dawn wearing nothing from his family except dignity he did not deserve. For the first hour after reading Rosalie's letter, Adrian told himself her departure was temporary, emotional, impulsive. She would reach the next village, calm down, and return once humiliation cooled into practicality. By noon, he understood she was not coming back willingly. Because Rosalie had not left chaotically, she left carefully. Half her belongings gone, travel funds untouched from his accounts. No dramatic accusations sent to newspapers, no attempt to punish him publicly. She simply removed herself from a place she was not wanted. And somehow that made the empty manor feel accusatory. Mrs. Halloway, the longtime housekeeper, entered the breakfast room with terrifying silence. She left before sunrise. I'm aware. She walked through the rain alone because she refused to wake the staff. That landed unpleasantly. Adrian set down his untouched coffee. She had a carriage. She sent it back. Another silence. Then, carefully, your mother would have despised this situation. Excellent. Now even ghosts judged him. By evening, Adrian abandoned pride and began searching personally. Not because society required it. Quite the opposite. Most aristocratic men would quietly wait for wives to return once money ran short. But every hour after Rosalie left sharpened something increasingly unbearable inside him. Not embarrassment. Loss. He remembered her standing beside the fireplace, holding his mother's necklace with steady hands despite obvious hurt. He remembered her saying, "Whatever happened to you before me must have been catastrophic." The worst part? She was right. 10 years earlier, Adrian nearly married for love. Lady Eleanor Whitmore. Brilliant. Warm. Dangerously alive. Then her politically ambitious family abandoned the engagement for a wealthier alliance the moment Adrian's shipping investments briefly collapsed. Within weeks, newspapers mocked him publicly. His father called him weak privately. And Adrian learned a lesson powerful men often mistake for wisdom. Love made you vulnerable before it made you happy. After that, he stopped choosing with his heart entirely. Business first. Emotion second. Survival always. Until his dying mother forced him into one final attempt at humanity. Rosalie. And instead of trying, he punished her for arriving where someone else once betrayed him. 3 days later, Adrian found her in a coastal town nearly 50 miles south. Not hidden. Working. Of course she was working. Rosalie stood behind the counter of a small bookstore near the harbor while sea wind rattled the windows softly. The sight stopped him cold. Not because she looked ruined. Because she looked peaceful. No jewels. No duchess gowns. Just a dark green dress with sleeves rolled neatly at the wrists while she organized books beneath afternoon sunlight. She noticed him immediately. Her expression did not change. Interesting. Most women would react dramatically to a duke arriving unexpectedly after abandonment. Rosalie simply closed the ledger in front of her. You found me quickly. Yes. A pause. You sound disappointed. No. She looked at him carefully. Just unsurprised. The shop owner, a cheerful elderly woman pretending desperately not to eavesdrop, vanished into the back room with supernatural timing. Adrian approached slowly. I handled things badly. That's a polished description. Fair. He deserved that. Rosalie folded her hands calmly atop the counter. What exactly are you hoping for here? The directness unsettled him slightly. Because honestly, he had not planned beyond finding her. You left. Yes. You didn't fight. Her eyes narrowed faintly. You wanted me gone. No. The answer came too fast. Rosalie noticed immediately. But you said. I know what I said. Adrian exhaled slowly. And I've regretted it every hour since. Silence. Outside, gulls cried faintly over crashing waves. Inside, Rosalie watched him with infuriating calm. You know what's strange? She asked quietly. What? I believed you more when you rejected me than I do now. That hit hard enough to strip away his remaining pride entirely. Because she deserved consistency, not panic inspired by accents. I don't expect immediate forgiveness, he admitted. Good. Another honest answer. God. She was impossible to manipulate because she refused comforting lies. Adrian glanced around the small bookstore. You seem comfortable here. I am. The answer tightened something painfully inside him. Because suddenly he understood. Rosalie was fully capable of building a meaningful life without him. This was not a helpless woman trapped by scandal. This was someone choosing peace over wealth. And for the first time since marriage, Adrian became truly afraid. Not of losing reputation. Of losing her specifically. I owe you honesty, he said quietly. Yes. The woman I expected to marry years ago betrayed me for power. Rosalie remained silent. I convinced myself afterward that emotional distance was intelligence. A bitter laugh escaped him. Then my mother chose you, and I treated you like punishment for someone else's betrayal. The truth settled heavily between them. Finally, complete. Rosalie's expression softened slightly. Not because the explanation excused him. Because at last he stopped hiding behind coldness. You were frightened, she said quietly. Yes. And cruel because of it. Yes. Another pause. But I was never the woman who hurt you. The words landed gently, devastatingly. I know that now. Silence stretched between them, long enough for honesty to breathe properly. Then Rosalie asked the question that truly mattered. If I returned with you, what would actually change? Not romance. Not apologies. Reality. Adrian answered carefully because this was the first truthful thing their marriage might become. I would stop treating affection like weakness. A pause. And I would spend the rest of my life earning the trust one nearly destroyed in one night. Rosalie studied him for a very long moment, searching for calculation, finding none. Finally, softly, your mother told me something before she died. Adrian looked up sharply. She said you were kind before life taught you to confuse loneliness with strength. The words nearly broke him, because only his mother would have understood him cruelly enough to say that aloud. Rosalie stepped away from the counter slowly. I won't return as a tolerated inconvenience. You won't. I won't beg for affection. You never should. Another pause. And if you ever look at me with regret again, I'll deserve losing you permanently. Silence. Then finally, Rosalie walked toward him. Not dramatically. Not timidly. Certain. You're fortunate, she murmured softly, that I seem to like the man hidden underneath all that damage. Relief hit him visibly, real enough to almost make him laugh. Instead, Adrian reached carefully for her hand. This time, she let him hold it.